Welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Does the law of sedition have a place in a modern liberal democracy? Originally, Section 113 of the Mauchly Draft Penal Code of 1837-1839. It was proposed that time, but it was omitted from the Indian Penal Code in 1860. This I got to know as I was reading Senior Advocate Satvik Verma's article today. He happens to also be a guest on my show today. Welcome, Satvik Verma, on Legally Speaking. Chief Justice Iqbal Ansari, thank you so much for joining us. Senior Advocate Jayant Mehta, thank you for joining us. You're first on Legally Speaking. Senior Advocate Ashok Mehta, sir has served as the Additional Solicitor General of India. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. So let's get to the topic straight. In a modern liberal democracy, does sedition law have any place? We will go through the views that the courts have taken since Kedarnath and then move on. But may I first request Senior Advocate Ashok Mehta to make his opening comment, sir.
Okay, Kedar is affirmed, meaning thereby the law of sedition, Deshdroh, is valid, law is reaffirmed. It will continue to remain on our statute book as a valid law, affirmed in accordance with 1902. But friends, the only way which remains now is the law stands repealed in number of nations. If we want this law not to be on the statute books, we need a mass awareness, Jan Jagrana. And only then, if the parliament wants to remove it, only then it can be repealed. But the question of misuse, it will continue. Every government in power uses it. And once it uses it, it is always a misuse against Patrakarita, the journalism. It starts from 1892 itself, Baghu Bashi. It continues with Tilak. He was put behind bar for 6 years. Continues up to Gandhi. He wrote his autobiography in jail. Once in Champaran, he was left off. In Bombay, strict. But at last in Sabarmati, when he wrote the article, after Chauri Chaura's incident, the Constitution of India was enforced. Ramesh Thapar, again a journalist. Yes, at that time it was only waging of the war under 1902. Soon amended, 1951. First Amendment, along with the property laws, 9th schedule, 1902 was amended and public order was added. It makes the law valid even today. Kedarnath has put strict compliance, strict conditions, and submission on those conditions, it is valid even today. Luckily for Vinod Dua, FIR is quashed. But his request for a committee before putting a person behind bar, a journalist, a committee should look into prima facie case, that is turned down. I have only two suggestions. One suggestion is specifically go for a revolution of mass awareness that this law is anti-national. The law in itself. It says anti-national will be put behind bar. I say the law itself is anti-national, anti-constitution, anti-freedom of expression. Second, we need, again, just like Press Commission in 1978-79, now we need a media commission covering all types of media for proper regulations. I feel that is more than sufficient for a decision.
Point well taken. Thank you, sir. I go to Senior Advocate Satvik Verma. Do you see the law as being inconsistent with the right to freedom of speech and expression? And in your experience, where should this law be consigned to the dustbin of history?
Thank you, Tarun. Thank you for having me on your show, especially on a topic that is very dear to my heart. Over the last 10 years, I have published extensively on the subject. To answer your question straight off the bat, I think that this law has no place in our constitutional democracy, and it poses a very serious challenge to try and balance and juxtapose a society and a constitutional policy which allows freedom of speech and expression with a law that in an indirect way seeks to prohibit it. it's very important for your audience to know what was under challenge in the Kedarnath case and where things stand today. In the Kedarnath case in 1962, the same issue was in challenge. The issue before the constitutional bench was on whether, alongside freedom of speech and expression, whether this was a very reasonable restriction under 19.2. The Constitution Bench at the time traced the history, as you articulated in your opening, and for that moment, in 59 years ago, held it to be constitutionally valid. Now, 59 years later, and if I may just steal a second on the side, incidentally, the Kedarnath case, on behalf of the Attorney General, my grandfather, my late grandfather, Mr. S.P. Verma, had appeared for the Attorney General in the Kedarnath matter. And today, 59 years later, I say that that is no longer good law and should not exist and should be repealed. And the good news is that the constitutional validity has already been put to test because petitions have been filed now in the Supreme Court. I will draw one more analogy which is of interest, which may be of interest to your audience. 124A, which is the charging section of under the IPC for sedition, according to me is analogous to section 66A, if you remember, of the IT Act, which the Honorable Supreme Court in the Shreya Singhal matter has repealed. I believe that the same problem had existed there in 66A. The law in itself wasn't bad, its implementation was, and the reasonable restriction that it sought to create was done away with. Another interesting facet that I want to highlight on your show, that while Mr. Mehta is absolutely correct, the Supreme Court on the Vinod Dua matter has not acceded to the request of formulating guidelines. According to me, respectfully, the same is not needed. Why is that not needed? Because those not very pleasant cartoons that were made by cartoonist Aseem Trivedi, which prompted me first to write, the Bombay High Court has already formulated guidelines. The problem is not so much in the law, because the law has three explanations. The law, the Kedarnath judgment is also very clear. The problem is in its implementation. The problem is that the guidelines after the Aseem Trivedi case, which said that you needed a written opinion of the law officer, similar to what Vinod Dua was arguing, have never been implemented. Therefore, now I believe, given the situation we find ourselves in, it is now ripe for the Supreme Court 59 years later, given the fact that our constitution is an evolving document, to give it a rethink. And according to me, with utmost respect, to answer your question, this law does not deserve to be on our statute books.
Very well explained, Senior Advocate Satvik Verma. I'll go to Senior Advocate Jayant Mehta. Mr. Mehta, may I ask you, every government, so to speak, you see in the UPA time, the opposition then was protesting at what was done to Aseem Trivedi. They were fighting for his right to freedom and expression. Now the current opposition is taking up that position. But whenever government changes, it very comfortably, in a sense, adopts to these laws. What needs to be done?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me here. I would try and strike a little different chord, if you might permit me. 124A in the IPC has a very interesting history. Some part of it you have yourself touched upon, and Satvik has. But a couple of aspects, if I may highlight. It wasn't in the IPC as it was originally passed as an act. It came in subsequently, 10 years later, in 1870, but in a very different form. In the present form, it was brought in by way of an amendment made in the 1890s. Now, the difficulty, as I see, is with the present form. In fact, there are several judgments that deal with it. There is a judgment, very interesting judgment of the Federal Court, which Supreme Court followed in Kedarnath. There is also a judgment which overruled the Federal Court judgment in Privy Council. Now, you are quite right that the government of the day, and at that time we were under the British Raj, would want to make it as expansive as possible. And that's how the judges then instructed the jury to say disaffection means lack of affection for the government, which means that every subject must like the government, and any subject who doesn't like the government would be committing sedition. Now, do we subscribe to that view? Of course not. That's not the point that I'm advocating. The section was brought in with a purpose, and I don't think that purpose is gone. Its form has a problem. The Supreme Court realized that the form has a problem. And therefore, in Kedarnath, read it down to mean, well, not every kind of disaffection. It cannot invade, it cannot interfere with the freedom of speech and expression. So, howsoever critical you may be of the functioning of the government of the day, that's not sedition. But for it to be sedition under 124A, the act or the writing has to be such that it is calculated to trigger violence, to trigger public disorder. Now, unfortunately, after Kedarnath, the section was not amended to bring it in line with those expressions, as a result of which you have a dichotomy. What is a dichotomy? The section, as it plainly reads very differently from what it should read. What it should read is what the Supreme Court has held in Kedarnath and reiterated in 2021 in Amish's case. So therefore, the problem is not so much about sedition as an offense. In my understanding, the problem is the way it is expressed. The way it is expressed by the section, and that section actually goes well beyond what the Supreme Court held in Kedarnath. Another very interesting point before I come to answer your question. In Article 13 in the draft constitution, which is today's 19.2, as originally drafted, the word sedition found its place, which means that your freedom of speech and expression was subject to any law on sedition, as in the draft constitution. Mr. K. Munshi moved an amendment to that draft, and that amendment was passed unanimously, dropping the word sedition from 13.2. That 13.2 has now become Article 19.2 of our Constitution. So as the Constitution makers didn't feel it that your freedom of speech and expression should be subjected to a law on sedition. But as Mr. Mehta, the other Mr. Mehta on the show, pointed out that by way of the First Amendment, the word public order, which actually owes the origin to another judgment of the Supreme Court and a dissenting opinion of Justice Fazal Ali in Romesh Thapar. Public order was added to 19.2. So therefore, to answer your question now, are we in a situation where a person inciting by way of speech, expression, or action others to break the public order, should it not be an offense? That's the question. Sedition as a word is much misunderstood. Why? Because of the general expression that you find in 124A continuing despite the Supreme Court's interpretation in Kedarnath. Now, governments of the day have been abusing it. Another interesting history bit. To begin with, the provision was non-cognizable, which means that the police officer could not go and arrest a person who was charged with sedition. In 1973, the then government made it cognizable. So you are quite right. Wherever there is unbridled power, there would be a tendency, whether we like it or not, but we're all humans. There would be a tendency to misuse it, to abuse it. But the question is that should it be confined to a dustbin? Would I, in my humble view, would be too extreme a case. Yes, it should be curtailed. It should be made non-cognizable as it was. It should be made in sync with the view of the Supreme Court in Kedarnath, because that is how it has to be read.
Point well taken. So basically, I get a sense you are saying, you're hinting, amend the law, revert the law, but you don't exactly agree that we should consign it to the dustbin of history. You say there is a place for this law, but the kind of punishments that are now being awarded in all that needs to be relooked, and it can be done only by Parliament. Am I right?
Tarun, you're absolutely right. It has to be amended by the Parliament.
Point taken. I take your point to Justice Iqbal Ansari. Sir, you've heard all our panelists and diverse opinions. Justice Senior Advocate, Senior Advocate Ashok Mehta said it should be consigned to the dustbin of history. Then your Senior Advocate Verma also said that this, but Senior Advocate Mehta says no. You can revert it, amend it, but still keep it. So what do you think about this?
See, Tarun, the case on which recently the Supreme Court has relied upon, and the case on which everyone is relying for the purpose of either supporting or doing away with the law of sedition is Kedarnath's case. As Mr. Mehta has very correctly pointed out, notwithstanding what is there in the Indian Penal Code, sedition has to be read today in the light of what the Supreme Court has decided to be sedition. That means merely raising of slogan, writing of anything, making a speech is not sedition unless it is to incite violence or public disorder. So if that is the situation, do we need a law of sedition or do we not need? It is not necessary to name it as sedition, but law in some form must be there for the people to be restrained from inciting violence against government simply for the reason I don't like the government. There may be many more who would be liking the government. So you can't really throw away a government, legally elected government, by saying that no, this government, I'm not satisfied with the government. That's not the idea. The idea is that if there is a tendency to create violence and thereby violence against the government, which obviously will affect the public at large, then in that event, the act or writing or whatever it may be, that may not be allowed. To that extent, Mr. Satvik Verma is correct that it has to be thrown to the dustbin. But to say that we don't need the law of sedition at all, that would be difficult. I appreciate the fact that many of the countries, particularly democratic, have already done away with the law of sedition. I am not on the terminology used, but the definition which the Supreme Court gives in Kedarnath Singh's case, whether within the parameter of this definition, whether such an act can or cannot be made an offense. Because when Sardar Patel introduced this subject in the Constituent Assembly itself as a reasonable restriction, as we are hearing. So at that time, there was great furor against this. And ultimately, he had to withdraw. Because then we had just inherited independence from the shackles of British slavery. So the situation was quite different. But when you are running your own government, you have to give the government an order. That means the public order has to be maintained. And if somebody is breaking the public order and that too by causing violence, what will you do with such a person? You will let him do it? Perhaps not. So that way, of course, it is open for this discussion and debate whether we need the law of sedition or not. But my saying is, to some extent, taking it from what Mr. Mehta said, the second Mr. Mehta, perhaps, that the mm, sedition is actually what Supreme Court has decided in the Kedarnath Singh's case. And everybody, we agree that as far as Kedarnath Singh's case is concerned, that is deciding a correct law. Had it been the case of those who propose that it should be consigned to dustbin, law of sedition, they said no, even Kedarnath Singh's case is a bad judgment. That matter would have been different. That I haven't heard. So in that event, perhaps it will be wiser for us to go by what Kedarnath Singh has said, make the law in tune with Kedarnath Singh's case, and then apply the law cautiously and very, very rarely, because it is not easy. In a democracy, it is the freedom of speech and expression, which is a very, very important right. The second important thing which I would like to touch briefly upon, because of paucity of time, is that we must mark a difference between the government and the state. A state or nation is not replaceable. It will remain, it remains. But as far as the government is concerned, that is replaceable. One government is there today, tomorrow there will be another government. Government will keep going and coming. So a word against a government does not mean that it is anti-national. It's quite one thing to say it is anti-national because that government cannot become a nation, or nation will have both the supporters of the government and also the opposition. So that is why perhaps a time has come where we have to appreciate the difference between the state or the nation on the one hand and the government on the other, because of the fact that perhaps the present government has used this so much for everything to say it is anti-national. Even Vinod Dua's case, if you roughly read the allegation made against him, by no means you can bring it to the law of sedition, within the ambit of the law of sedition. But he has been accused of doing that. And that is why there Mr. Satwik Verma is perhaps correct, that it was the amendment was subsequently which it has gone through, means that making it cognizable, that means police can arrest without warrant. At least there was some kind of a screening when one could bring before the magistrate, and magistrate would have gone through it for the purpose of determining whether he or he should not issue a warrant. This is in substance what I would like to say.
Point very well taken, sir. But I remember just another law, section 498A, we did a discussion, sir, even you were there, that it was being misused. And one of the panelists that time had said simply because it's being misused doesn't mean we should do away with it. Does sedition also acquire, in a sense, such a debate? I am concerned. Why? Because the government of the day, any governments in the past so many years, they will not say bring a bill to amend it. It's very natural. When you're in power, it never happens. So when will it ever happen? It can't ever happen because any government, the opposition comes to power, they will not do it. The one in power never does it. So that cycle continues. There was a general consensus largely that this law at least needs to be amended. Some said that it needs to be consigned to the dustbin of history, but more or less everybody agrees that it should at least be amended. I'll go to Senior Advocate Ashok Mehta, sir. No government will bring a bill to amend this law. What is the solution? Do we look up to the courts now to initiate something?
Well, one more case has been taken note in this present case of 2021, the Constitution bench with regards to 295A, the mischief with religion.
Yes.
And again, that deliberate and malicious statements can only be treated to be covered under 295A. So that up to that extent, that has been read down. The solution at least is there has to be a public awareness that in a democratic country, ideal, law of sedition has no place.
Okay.
It has to be, everyone has to be aware. Whomsoever may be the government will always use and misuse it, and maximum against journalists from the very beginning till date. 3, as soon as it will be used and misused, the opponent of it will always say it is not misuse but abuse. Well, yes, in the case of Arnab, in the case of Amish, And now in the case of Vinod, it
And-
was specifically held to be misused.
So may I point out there are many small-time journalists who even don't know the language in case nobody discusses them. It's a tragedy. The big names always get discussed. That's why I'll go to senior advocate Satvik Verma.
Yes, even in Allahabad, sedition laws have been against a small journalist and the persons who are publishing small papers.
Yes. So
And I must say one thing. Prayag has been place of Malviya ji. Prayag has been place of Chand. The magazine where for editor it was, you have to be behind the bar, you will not be paid any salary. Are you ready to do the editorship? I will finish my words with this. Yes, from the beginning of our revolution, of independence, that was the craze of specifically the journalists. Journalism created nationalism. Journalists created the awareness.
Point
And
taken.
journalists have been put behind bar, including Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Gandhi.
Point
And
taken.
in jail, while behind the bar, one person put his autobiography, other Gita. And the third one behind the bar, Nehru, put the best book on world history behind the bar. So yes, that is the antidote of whatever we are saying. But I still say 124A should not have a place in the law books of a democratic country.
Okay, thank you so much. Just 30-second answers. I've got 3 minutes to go on today's TV show. Senior advocate Satvik Verma, do you feel there is a confusion here? The courts, of course, can't amend this law. The parliament, we don't know if we'll do it. Where do we go from here? As a society, where do we go?
Yeah, so in the interest of time, I'll sort of make quick 4 bullet points. Firstly, I disagree with my fellow panelists because I think that despite the statute or despite the law having been amended in the last 59 years, or sorry, I stand corrected, despite the Kedarnath judgment, which clarifies what the law itself is, because Kedarnath is actually based on the explanations, the law is being exploited. The directions are not being followed. Therefore, the time has come for the Supreme Court itself, where, and as I said, petitions have already been filed to declare this law unconstitutional. That's point 1. Point 2, Britain has done away with this law, and a lot of the countries where this law today exists follow what is called an effect-based test rather than a content-based test, which means let us examine the effect of a statement that Satvik Verma makes rather than the content. Does it really excite or entice violence? Therefore, only then. That's important. 3, and something that your audience will really, really enjoy, Tarun. Do you know that under the recent NCRB data, the National Crime Research Bureau data, in the years 2016 to 19, there has been a 160% increase in recording of sedition cases, but the prosecution is down only to 3.3%. And I can assure you that if the directions given by the Bombay High Court were in the Asim Trivedi case were followed, even that 3% would not happen, and these 160% cases wouldn't have been recorded. Last point, some people have touched upon it. 124 uses the word government established by law. The Kedarnath judgment has already distinguished that the government established by law is different from the party in power. And that distinction needs to be made, because while we all 4 of us discussed the historical genesis, none of us highlighted the fact that the law was actually introduced against the Wahhabi movement, which was bringing about opening war against the British. Today, there is not that situation. Therefore, with utmost respect, once again drawing a parallel to conclude myself with 66A, I make the submission that this law is being abused the same way 66A was. When 66A was tested in against the touchstone, the Supreme Court held it to be unconstitutional. The same arguments were made that the law should not be repealed. It eventually was. I respectfully say that this law needs to go through the same rigors, and I am confident that when it goes through that rigors before a constitution bench, of the Supreme Court, it will not stand the test of time. Thank you for your patience.
Very, very good set of points made by Satwik Verma. Last minute I have.
Tarun, I repeat what I said. Of course, discourse, discussion, expression, dissent are lifeblood of democracy. But what is also important is a balance. Balance between disorder or the tendency to create disorder and therefore the need to control it versus speech and expression. Now, the question of, you are quite right, no government would be willing to change it. Why? Because it is unbridled power in hands who are quite willing to use it. The law is not what is on the statute book, but what has been declared by the Supreme Court, and that is very narrow, as Justice Ansari quite rightly pointed out. Now, what is required is either 124A should be changed textually to reflect what the Supreme Court has held, or there should be education amongst the investigating and prosecuting agencies to tell them as to what the law is. It's not what 124A reads, but what the Supreme Court has held. So therefore, any expression is not sedition unless it creates or has a tendency to create disorder.
In fact, as I end this show, I get a very good idea. I must individually invite Senior Advocate Satwik Verma and Senior Advocate Jayant Mehta for one show where we discuss only this issue. You two, in a sense, are bringing up very contrary but good points. Thank you so much, Senior Advocate Ashok Mehta, Justice Iqbal Ahmed Ansari.
Thank you, everyone. Really nice discussion.
And
we should be ready for 7 judges bench to overrule Kedar.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, viewers, for joining us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.